Hello and welcome to A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. I'm your host, Tomas Garza, and I want to welcome you wherever you are joining us from in the world today, whatever time of day it is. For some of you, it might be the evening, so good evening to all of you. It's morning here in Arizona, in the United States, and it's good afternoon to some of you. Some of you might be watching from around the world in the middle of the night. So wherever you are, or if you're catching the replay, welcome. We're happy to have you here. This show, this live stream, is called A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. And as you might imagine, if you're just joining us, this involves experiences of mine from the spiritual text, A Course in Miracles. Now, I have led workshops on A Course in Miracles and study groups and been a student for 8 years. Some of you may have been a student of this course, which has been around since the 1970s for a lot longer than that. And in fact, I've met several of you who are probably watching this right now that are longtime students. So you and I and everyone else who has been impacted by this really profound spiritual text would be able to attest that it is a game changer. It is literally a game changer. It has been significant for me, very significant. In fact, that's an understatement. It has been the basis of my spiritual life and practice for the past 8 years. And it just has produced the decision, actually, that I made to work on it has produced so much positive change and transformation that it is my absolute honor and pleasure to share all of this with you. So if you're just joining me, I invite comments here on Facebook. This is a daily live stream, and because we're live, feel welcome to tell us where you're watching from, to say hello, to share, to type in comments if you'd like to. I will answer some of them if we have time here on the stream, and it's usually about a 20-minute live stream, relatively short. It is every day, so if you'd like to watch some past episodes, I would invite you to tune in to Enlightened World Network's YouTube channel. If you didn't know they have a YouTube channel, there is one. It's Enlightened World Network, and this show, A Course in Miracles 365, is archived there. I've got a playlist going, and I've been doing this for about 2 months now, and I've met so many people from all over the world. And I have to tell you, the adage that no one ever learns as much as the teacher is so true, and it's never been more true than in my experience right now. In fact, this really confirms for all of us, for me, one of the principles of A Course in Miracles is that we teach something in order to better learn it. We teach it to learn it. If you think about that, if you've ever done any teaching, whether it's in a formal setting or not in your life, you'll know that as the teacher standing up in front of a classroom, whether it's live or whether it's virtual these days, or both, you'll know that there's a lot of learning to be done. And that's what this is all about. So I'm happy to share on this journey with all of you. All right. So we've arrived here at lesson 46 in A Course in Miracles. God is the love in which I forgive. We're going to spend at least 2 days on this. This is one caveat of the workbook for students, is that it is self-study. So you may spend as much time as you like on a given workbook exercise. There is nothing that says, nor would Jesus ever suggest, right, that you have to go through everything in complete linear fashion, 1 through 365, without taking a break or without pausing to consider something really deep. Yeah. There's nothing that says thou shalt not skip a day, or thou shalt not spend more than 1 day on a lesson that is worth hundreds of days of practice, thousands, a lifetime. So at least 2 won't hinder us at all. It's very, very important because we're looking at perhaps the foundational principle of A Course in Miracles, and that is forgiveness. This is central to A Course in Miracles. It's central to this thought system, and therefore, because the Course presents universal spirituality, broad and universal in application, it applies to everything and everyone. It is universal, absolute truth, and it just applies to anyone, anywhere. And it's critical, and it's so misunderstood, isn't it, in the world? It's so misunderstood that it is certainly worth a closer examination. So that's what we're going to do today. So whatever your spiritual or religious background, tune in. Tune in today and tomorrow at the very least for this comprehensive, well, it's not as comprehensive as it could be, but it's pretty comprehensive examination of forgiveness. Now, this is, in fact, just to preview, a specific workshop that I will be teaching, and I'm working on that. I'll post details here and announce details here on the live stream. So that is coming. This will be topic number one, forgiveness, because it's so important, it's so central, and it's so misunderstood. So let's go into the text here and begin to have this conversation. So God is the love in which I forgive. All right. Sentence number one, God does not forgive because he has never condemned. Okay. God does not forgive because he has never condemned. Never, ever. It's not possible. Would perfect love condemn? No. Exactly. Now, you may have been raised in a religious or a spiritual tradition that wanted you to fear God. Did you grow up saying you're God-fearing and wearing that like a badge of honor, saying that you're saying to the world, I'm a great person. Yeah, I'm God-fearing. Fear? Really? As we know from a study of A Course in Miracles, we have a choice every moment of every day. We can choose love on the one hand, or we can choose fear. We can choose God. We can choose the ego. We can choose separation, or we can choose unity, love, our true self, life itself. We have that choice every moment of every day. If we choose not to decide, that is our choice. We have never lost free will. Now, it may feel in the world like we lose it all the time. We're not in control of the situation that we would love to be in, right? We're not in control of what our elected officials do. And if you live in a place where you don't have elected officials, then you're not in control of what the people in charge there do. Right? We're not in control of things like a global pandemic. We're not in control of that. What are we in control of? How we respond to situations, how we show up for situations, and we're in control of a choice, a single choice between only two options, only two, love or fear. Everything else is a derivative of that choice. Everything else is a subset of that choice. Fear produces all kinds of conditions: depression, anxiety, frustration, fear, a sense of lack, a sense of separation, a sense of not belonging, of wanting, needing something out there. Whereas the choice of love leads to joy, laughter, ease, simplicity, certainty, certainty. Would you like to have some certainty in your life? Would you like to have certainty? Certainty as the underpinning of everything that you do. If the answer is yes, then you're in the right place. That's all I can say. You're in the right place if that answer is yes. And I hope that it is. I really do. It's all of our choice, but I hope that that is. And I suspect, because you're watching A Course in Miracles 365 on Enlightened World Network, that you have answered that in the affirmative. Yes, that is my choice. I choose love. Now let's all understand that we have another opportunity to choose right now. And it could be just as easy for us to slide right back into our habitual tendencies of fear, of guilt, of blame, anger, sadness, rage, poor me. Maybe you fall back into a victim personality. You feel disempowered, whatever that looks like for you. It's a choice that we make right now. God does not forgive because he is never condemned. God has no ego to be worshiped. Perfect love simply is, recognizes only itself. Before forgiveness is necessary, this is the second sentence, there has to be condemnation. So how is there condemnation? You may feel like, hey, I'm a good person. I've never condemned. Actually, yes, of course, we all have. We all have. We can all think of several moments, if we're honest with ourselves, where we lashed out at somebody else, where we blamed someone else, where we failed to forgive someone else, where we failed to forgive ourselves, where we were hard on someone else, where we kicked the dog or got mad at the cat or threw something at someone, even if you were 4 when you did it, even if you haven't done it in 20 years or more. We can all look at a situation, probably even if we're honest, today, a situation where you acted out of fear, of a sense of separation. Forgiveness, therefore, is the great need of this world, is it not? Now, if you've ever genuinely forgiven somebody, you'll know how powerful it is, how powerful the feeling is to genuinely forgive someone. Now, there are many, many obstacles that we place in the way of forgiveness here in the world, aren't there? Many things. Now, one of them that I want to talk about right now, and then, of course, as I mentioned, we'll go further into detail into forgiveness and lesson 46 tomorrow when we revisit this. It's forgiveness is misunderstood because it's not complete the way we usually do it here in the world. Now, I'll explain what I mean by that. Have you ever had maybe a parent, maybe your mother, for example, say to you, okay, I forgive you, but don't do this again. I forgive you, but if this happens again, then X will happen, right? I forgive you, but I forgive you, and if there's an and or but on the end of it, it's forgiveness the way the world usually sees it, with a condition. We find it easy sometimes to forgive certain people or certain things, certain events, maybe an animal, maybe a pet. People find it easier to forgive the dog for going to the bathroom on the carpet than they do to forgive another person or themselves. Have you forgiven a sibling of yours for something that they did to you when you were 6? Or do you remember that and harbor it and forgive other people but not them? Or forgive them for some things and not others? What we see in the Course is that forgiveness is either totally complete, it's either total, or it doesn't exist. It's all or nothing. It is. It's all or nothing. Just like the choice between love or fear, it is one or the other. So either we forgive or we don't. If we don't, we experience the world of separation. Now, forgiveness, the way A Course in Miracles teaches it and talks about it, is the foundation of our very salvation, the foundation of our awakening. What happens when we forgive is massive. When we legitimately forgive. Now, A Course talks about forgiveness as overlooking error or seeing beyond a mistake that someone has made. What greater mistake could a person make than to see themselves as separate in the first place? Cutting right to the chase here. And why not? The purpose of this is to save ourselves time. Possibly many lifetimes, thousands of Earth years. Doesn't matter if you believe in rebirth or not, it doesn't matter. Until we no longer see ourselves as separate, we will experience ourselves as separate. And this does mean, if you're wondering, if you're following along and in your mind, you're thinking, wow, this could be really, really powerful if I lean into it. Yeah, it could. It could. Forgiveness has literally changed me personally in the last 8 years since I picked up this course. I've been able to forgive people on deep levels that I had not been able to prior. And how do I do that? Well, it's just through practice and it's through willingness. A Course in Miracles talks about how little we actually need to give of ourselves to gain our own salvation, to gain our own awakening, to figure out who we really are and to actually genuinely, authentically wake up. That is what we need to do, is just have a little willingness to allow God, to allow the Holy Spirit in to run the show. We get out of our own way. And one of the things that we can do is to forgive. Now, what I say is, it is not always easy, is it, to forgive someone. You may have somebody who has legitimately abused you in your life. That may be your situation, someone that you know. It could be an ex-partner, it could be someone else. There might be some people in your life that it's easier to forgive than others. And what I would say about that is start with what you can do. One of the phrases that goes around world spirituality is start where you are. The way I take that is start with what you're capable of doing. So if all you can do right now today is forgive the dog for going pee on the carpet, then do that. Yeah, start with that. Start with that. It is not expected of us that we are able to blanket forgive people who have badly abused or mistreated us on day number one. However, with practice, actually, it is possible. We've all seen examples of how this is possible. And what happens when you commit to forgiveness and work on forgiveness is that you are utterly, utterly transformed. The other person is utterly transformed. They do not even need to know that you're forgiving them. You don't have to call somebody up and have an in-depth conversation. This is all something you can do right here. They don't have to know. No one has to know that you're doing it, and it still has impact. Why? Minds are joined. Minds are joined. This is something that is not easy for the ego to relate to. In fact, the ego would have you actively resist the fact that minds are joined. And as the Course says, there are no private thoughts. Ultimately, think about it. It's true. All minds are joined. There are no private thoughts. We're simply awakening to that. Forgiveness is one of the most profound means by which we get there. Now, I want to take some comments and questions here on this live today. So as promised, tomorrow we will be diving right back into lesson 46 and forgiveness. And I want to spend some time on the next live stream talking about the way the Course recommends that we practice this, because this is something that needs some attention. How do we actually practice forgiveness for it to have an impact, for us to be able to feel the lightheartedness, the joy that comes from that, for others to be able to feel our lightheartedness and joy, and then recognize themselves in it? We're all mirrors for each other, so it's up to each of us to mirror love. This is, again, as I've mentioned, worth definitely a second look. So let's see who's tuning in here today. And again, we'll be covering this in some depth also tomorrow. Well, look, Enlightened World Network is live right now. Yeah, Robert, hello from Romania. Good evening to you. So if you're tuning in or catching the replay here, I just want to invite you to check out the YouTube channel for Enlightened World Network for all past episodes. They are archived every day. And again, this is a daily live stream. And Robert writes, yes, it's forgiving, release emotions such as anger, blame, shame, and destructive emotions. Yeah, we do. We really do. And how does it feel, right, to release shame, which can be crippling? Shame and anger and hurt and frustration. Yeah, I can tell you from my own experience, it feels wonderful. It feels wonderful to release our own pent up angst and anger, which we can sometimes harbor against someone or something for years and years. Yeah, I think that we can all attest to the profound relief of having forgiven somebody, or for having come clean if we were hiding something from someone, to admit the truth. If we lied to somebody, to tell them, hey, I lied to you. Might not be a comfortable conversation to have, but that's a way that we release what no longer serves us. And anything that no longer serves us is going to come up for our release. That's part of what spiritual practice is for. All right. So, again, as promised, we will revisit lesson 46 in A Course in Miracles in the workbook tomorrow, and we'll talk about forgiveness from the standpoint of practice. In other words, how do we do it? But again, God is the love in which we all forgive, and God does not forgive because he's never condemned. We have condemned each other. We've condemned the world. We've condemned political parties. We've condemned people. We've condemned ourselves. So forgiveness is necessary here. And it's a very, very powerful gift that you can give yourself and everyone in the world. So I thank you very much for joining me. We'll see you again here tomorrow on A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. Have a great day, everyone.